Rajdeep, what is it, do you think, that, brings in so many messages of condolences to the royal family, to the people of UK from across the world? So many world leaders reacting right now at a time when there have been questions about really the relevance of the monarchy. And despite that, Queen Elizabeth II is someone who struck a chord with so many people. Why is that?
I think the main reason is just the sheer longevity. When you've been queen for what? 72 years and counting. 69 years and counting. That's almost well over half a century. Here is a queen who celebrated her silver, her golden, her diamond and her platinum jubilee. Yes. So just the sheer longevity meant that she has been an enduring figure. Remember, when Queen Elizabeth was coronated, Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister of India. India had held its first general election just a year before, 1952. So you can imagine the expanse. Since then, India has had what? Several Prime Ministers, we've had several presidents, we've had governments come and go, and the Queen has remained in a way in London forever. She's not our Queen, but she's been, in a sense, an enduring symbol of an entire era. So I think for many of us who come from the Commonwealth nations, in particular, Queen Elizabeth was someone who symbolized an element of continuity. And she was someone who held the royalty together through good times and bad. As you rightly said, there are those from time to time who raise questions over the monarchy and its relevance in the world today. But I think Queen Elizabeth gave it a certain dignity, ensured that that dignity was never lost despite all the controversies that swirled around it. And that, I think, made Akshita a huge difference why she was a very loved queen. So, while Princess Diana is called the people's princess because she took the royal family out of the confines, in a way, of Buckingham Palace and Balmoral Castle and took it to the people of Britain and indeed the world, made them more sort of, reduce the gap between the people and the monarchy. I think Queen Elizabeth gave it certain dignity. So, she gave it a certain authority, a certain aura, a certain respectability. And I think that is why she is so respected across the world. You'll never see in all these years, all these images, the Queen take a faulty step. And that's a huge thing to have done over 7 decades. We all make mistakes, errors. The Queen, at least in all her public appearances, rarely stepped out of line. And I think the dignity that she gave the monarchy is why she will be, why she's remembered so fondly across the world.
And imagine, she took over as the Queen at a tender age of 25. The kind of challenges that she faced as the Queen, managing to overcome those challenges, establish herself as the monarch, and then rule for so many years, and be seen as such an inspirational figure in the United Kingdom. Just 2 days ago, and we're going to put out those images as well, just 2 days ago she continued with her constitutional duties despite her ailing health. She met with the newly appointed UK Prime Minister Liz Truss, and those were the last public images that we have of Queen Elizabeth II. Let's just put out those pictures as well of Queen Elizabeth II meeting with Liz Truss. This was in the Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Yes, Rajdeep.
Now I'm looking at those pictures.
That's with Nehru.
That's with Nehru. I think there's
Rajdeep.
Right. It's a completely, look at that. We are now in the age of Narendra Modi. Yes. Queen Elizabeth is the link between the age of Jawaharlal Nehru and Narendra Modi. She's completely, in a way, we're celebrating 75 years of independence.
And that tells you.
Yeah, and the Queen took over what? In the 6th year of our independence. So she's been almost there for all the years of independent India. We were able to shake off the vestiges of colonial Raj. The Prime Minister today spoke very evocatively of decolonization. But the Queen is someone who sort of symbolized, I think, the softer side of the Commonwealth, the sort of inclusive nature of the Commonwealth. And many countries chose to remain part of the Commonwealth because the Queen offered that comfort factor. I don't think she ever talked down to people of other nations. So that decolonization process accelerated during a time. I'll give you a personal story, which my late father told me. He was a cricketer for India, 1967. They go to England, and the tradition was that on the 3rd day of the match, the Queen would come at lunchtime and all the players would line up and shake hands with the Queen. My father, as it turned out, broke his hand on the second day to a bouncer from Jon Snow, went to the hospital and came back the next day. Why? Because he wanted to be there in that photograph shaking hands with the Queen. So there's a photograph at my house of my father with his hand in plaster but insisting on shaking hands with the Queen. I think, of course, that was another India, an India which was still in awe in a way of the British Raj and colonial India. Over time, I think all of that changed. And I don't think, you know, what did change though is the respect that people have had for the Queen. I don't think she ever gave the impression of someone who was intimidating or aggressive or a colonial power. Instead, she accepted this process of decolonization that was taking place across the Commonwealth, particularly in the 60s and 70s.